This conference will now be recorded.
So now go to Notepad. In Notepad, okay, stock transfers here.
Sir, he's facing some network issue. He will join in the middle.
Oh, okay, sir, no issue, no issue. Stock transfers here. Okay, so generally it is an inventory management transaction. So first of all, so these are the basics for stock transport orders. Okay, so now what is stock transfers? Basically, we need to understand here. If metal is moving between two store locations within the plant or plant to plant is called stock transfers here. If any material, so every plant we have multiple store locations here. The store locations are the physical locations. So during the business years, what happened? Other stores people is require the materials. So generally, some store is issuing. So store one is issuing to store two here. So which store location is issuing? That is called the supplying store here. Which store location is receiving? That is called receiving store location here. So physically the metal is moving here. So when the metal is moving physically, so we'll call as a stock transfers here. The metal will be moved within the plant also. The metal will move or plant to plant also. So within the plant, suppose I have multiple store locations. So from one store location to we are issuing the material to other store location. So this is called stock transfer, or plant to plant also is called stock transfers. So if I want to perform this stock transfers, so we have two prerequisites here. So what is the prerequisite here? The material must be extended with other stores. So what are the stores it is available? In all the stores, the material need to be extended. And the second prerequisite, if any material is we are issuing from the issuing store, so in the issuing store we should have some sufficient stock here. If sufficient stock is not available, then we cannot issue this material to other stores here. So this we need to understand the stock transfers here. Okay. Now let us we'll discuss within the plant one store location to another store location. So the stock transfers from between one store location to another store location will observe here. Okay. So here assume that I have one plant here. I have one plant. So this plant, okay. So I have one plant. The plant 1000 plant is there here. Okay. So under this plant, I have two store locations. I have 001 store location. So this I am saying as a supplying store here. So why we are calling is it a supplying store here? Because this store is in the material, right? That's what I am calling as a supplying store. And I have another store location that is a 0002. So this 0002 store location I'm naming as a receiving store here. So which store is issuing? The supplying store, and which store is receiving is called receiving store here. So in this plant, I have two store locations. So one is a supplying store, another one is a receiving store. So here if I want to move this stock from one store location to another store location, as we observed, so what is meant by stock transfer? If the material is moving physically from one store location to another store location is called stock transfers here. Now first we will see the scenario. So I have one plant. In this plant, I have two store locations, supplying store and receiving store. So if I want to move the stock, okay, if I want to perform this stock transfers, so I need to maintain two prerequisites here. What is the first prerequisite here? What is the first prerequisite here? The first prerequisite is the material should be maintained. So what are the material? The material should be extended in both the stores here. So the material, so whatever the material you created, this material must be extended here. So must be extended in both the stores here. Extend in both the stores here. So if you created if any material, that material must be extended to supplying as well as receiving store here. So what is the second prerequisite here? So you need to go to the second prerequisite. So whatever in supplying store here, a store means a supplying store, you keep in your mind. So supplying store should have sufficient stock here. Should have sufficient stock here. Sufficient stock should be available here. Okay. So supplying store should have sufficient stock here. Okay. So here whatever the stores is issuing, so in that store you must maintain the some stock here. Okay. As you know, for every business process procedures, so we are creating our own data, right? So now in this, before going to do the stock transfers, so already you have plant. So in this plant, we have two store locations. So in these two store locations, if metal is moving, so when the supplying store is issuing, so and receiving store is receiving. So first of all, you need to create one material, and let us extend this material in both the stores. And next, I will make availability of the stock in supplying store. Then we'll run the scenario. So to perform this here, so before going to discuss about stock transfers, so generally we have two procedures is there. That is important here. Okay. So what is this two procedures? We have one step process is there, one step process, and we have two step process is there. Okay. So we have two step process here. So what is one step and what is two step process here? Okay. So this also you need to understand. What is one step process and what is a two step process here? Okay. So in one step process, so first we'll perform one step process here. Okay, then we'll go to the two step process. First of all, you should have idea, right? So in stock transfers, okay, there are two process, one step and two step process. In one step process, okay, so is supplying store people issue the material, then automatically stock is updated in the receiving store here. So this we need to understand here. So even though receiving store people will not receive the material, but stock is updated here in system here. So whenever means the only supplying store people will make an entry in supplying store. So they will issue this material. Example material X, they issued some 25 pieces here. Immediately stock will be decreased in supplying store, and receiving store maybe the material will be received after 2 hours or 3 hours or 5 hours here. But in the receiving store automatically stock is updated here. So this is the disadvantage in one step process here. Okay. So what is the disadvantage in one step process? Even though the material is not received physically, but immediately in the receiving store system, the stock will be shown in the stock is available here. So this is the disadvantage. Sometimes the user will confuse, right? So in the receiving store, the stock is not received, but in system it is showing. So after some time, you will receive physically. So generally, when we'll go this one-step process, so the client will inform you. So even though if client also don't know, so you need to explain to the client. So if you are using one-step process, so basically when it is recommendable, if it is both the stores are very near, so geographically both the stores are very near, so we need to go to one-step process here. If the store locations are far away, then definitely in two-step process. So we need to go as a two-step process. What is two-step process here? In two-step process, the supplying store people, whenever they issue, the stock will be decreased here. And meanwhile, stock will be in transfer location. Means meanwhile, the stock will be in transit here. And whenever the receiving store people is received, then only again the receiving store people also make one inventory entry. So how much material is they received here? Okay. So this is about two-step process. So in this one step as well as two step process. So in one step process, we have two disadvantages. What is the first disadvantage? Already we discussed. So physically stock will be received after some point of time, but the user will confuse the stock is updated. This is one disadvantage. And sometimes whenever we are performing one step process, so if any transit loss, suppose you are issuing from here, we are issuing some 25 pieces, maybe for receiving store, we received only 24 pieces. So one piece has been maybe is misplaced here. So this is the disadvantage in one step processor. We have two disadvantages. Okay, immediately the material will be decreased and immediately material is increased. Okay, that is one disadvantage. And second is disadvantage, if any stock is misplaced here. Okay, so during the transit, so this transit loss we cannot calculate in two step process here. So these are all we need to understand here. Now let us run the scenario. The stock transfer means the physical movement of the material from one store location to another store location. So it will happen between the stores in a plant or store to store also. So you can observe. Now first of all, we'll go with one step process here. We'll go with one step process. Then we'll discuss about a two step process. Now first we'll go with the one step process. So when you are using this one step process, so generally only the supplying store people will make entry, right? So the movement type is 311. Okay, now let us run the scenario. First of all, I need to maintain the prerequisites. So what is the first prerequisite? The material need to be created in one plant and store location, and the same material you need to extend to other stores here. Now create material in MM01. Let me create any material. Some raw material. Okay, so go and select the views, basic MM views, and click on org levels. So I'm going to create a plant and store location. So as we are using stock transfers here, okay. So simply you can make a. So generally in real time we need to enter what is the name of the materials here, okay. So enter some base unit of measure, enter some material group. So enter the buyer group. So enter the valuation class, enter some price, moving price here, enter. Yes, here. So this is the material we created, right? So now once copy this material. Now what is the first prerequisite? The material must be extended to other stores here. Copy this material. So whatever the material you created in the supplying store, this material must be extended here. Okay, the same material. So if you are not extending this material, so we cannot perform here. So we need to fulfill the first prerequisite. So what is the first prerequisite? So whatever the material you created, the material must be extended to other stores here. So how to extend the material already you know. So in 000 store location we created here. So we need to extend to other stores here. So if you want to extend the material, you must go to with the same transaction code MM01. So enter the transaction code, and in organization levels, so in 1000 plant already in 000 store location already we created. Now better you need to extend to 0002. Then system automatically opens the store location view. If any store location relevant parameters you can enter, or else if you click on yes, and this you can check in MARD table. So where you will check this MARD table? If MARD table, if you go to SA16, in SA16, if you go to MARD table here, okay, then immediately the system will show this material got extended in the both the plants. Sorry, in the same plants, both the store locations, the material got maintained here. Now, if you check the stock overview, the stock there is no stock, right? In both the stores, the stock will be 0 here. If you go to MMBE, so what is the transaction code to check the stock overview? MMBE. If you enter the material, if you execute here, so there is no stock here. Okay, in both the store locations, there is no stock. The stock is 0. Now go to new session. Now let us run the second prerequisite. So what is the second prerequisite here? So supplying store should have sufficient stock here. So if I want to issue the stock from supplying store to the receiving store, the supplying store should have some stock, right? So now stock is 0. So for this, so now today I will give you, I will explain to one more inventory transactions, that is a goods received without PO. Okay, so generally when we are using in real time general scenario, so once most of the industries the purchase requisition will be created. If you know the vendor directly, we will create a PO, or else we need to go to the quotation process. Finally we'll create the purchase order to the vendor. Whenever vendor is dispatched the material, then we will go for the MIGO, means we need to enter the goods receipt, we need to confirm the goods receipt. But sometimes in real time you require the materials in emergency here, okay, so you don't have time to, the user don't have time to prepare the PO to the vendors. So generally you'll call to the vendors. So based on your confirmation, the vendor will dispatch the material. So this is called a goods receipt without PO. The system automatically creates in background PO. So you need to enter the goods receipt, MIGO. Go to MIGO. So now we'll perform. Assume that we call to the vendor. So whenever vendor is dispatch the material, so we need to enter the goods receipt without PO with 50 movement type here. Okay. Go to MIGO. So enter the goods receipt without any document. So we need to enter with other here. Okay. So goods receipt against other. So enter the material code. So assume that the vendor says dispatch the material here. So how much quantity? Let us say 100 quantity vendor is dispatching. In where tab you can observe the movement type 501 here. So this is goods received without PO here, 501. Okay. So always you need to observe the 501 movement is goods received without PO. For which plant and which store location the material is received here? So 1000 plant and 001 store location, the vendor has dispatched this material. And through which vendor we received here? So let us say I received through the 1000 vendor here. Okay. So these are all the details you need to enter. Now item okay. If you click on check, and if you click on post here, the material document is posted. So once you post the material document, please go and observe the stock overview. If you refresh the stock, now this time you have sufficient, means you have some stock here. In which store location stock is there? In 001 store location stock is there. Now with this we maintained two prerequisites. We created the material and we extend to other stores, and also we maintain the some stock in supplying store. Now I want to run the scenario. So I want to issue the material. So this material I have 100 pieces in my supplying store. So I want to issue some pieces, some material to the receiving store here. So what is the transaction code to do the stock transfers here? You can perform in MB1B transaction code, in MB1B or MIGO. Okay, in both the transaction codes you can perform. So now we are discussing about one step process here. So we are performing one step process here. One step process we are performing here. Okay, so within the store location, within the plant, we are moving with one step process from this store location to this store location. We need to issue the material. So what is the disadvantage in one step process? Whenever you are issuing the material, the stock will be decreased in the supplying store. Immediately stock is increasing to the receiving store here. So this we need to observe. Now let us run the scenario. First, I will show you in MB1B transition code. Later, I will show you in MIGO also, both the transition code here. So still we are using in MB1B in ECC. So whereas in a new system, SBI for HANA system, this MB1B, MB1C, MB1A are obsoleted. So only you need to use MIGO here. Okay. Now let us still the MB1B transition code you can use. Go to MB1B. And what is the movement type here? The movement type is most important here. So if you perform this one step process, the movement type will be 311 movement type. So we will perform this 311 movement type. The supplying store people will perform this 311 movement type. Okay. So if now you go to supplying store, in supplying store you need to enter 311 movement type. Who is performing here? So supplying store people here. So enter the plant and enter the store location. So whenever you enter this 311 movement type, so only the supplying store people will perform this transaction code in MB1B. And if you click on continue, immediately system will ask the receiving store. So which store is receiving? So enter 0002. This is the receiving store location and enter the material code. How much you are issuing? Let us say I'm issuing only 20 pieces example here. Okay, so enter 20 pieces here. And if you click on save, so now after posting, so what is the one step process we observed? Whenever you perform this one step process, immediately the system in stock will be decreased. Out of 100 pieces, now it will become 80 pieces. In the receiving store, the stock will be 20 here. Okay, immediately stock is updated here. Now if you go to stock overview, now just go back here. Now if you observe in 1000 so we have a stock. Okay, so total overall plant level 100 pieces, but in 000 you have only 80 pieces here. If you go and check in receiving store here, so if you enter the receiving store location, in receiving store location, how much stock is there? Only 20 pieces here. Okay, if you want to see both the stores at a time here, so both the just to remove the store location, now you can observe at a time you can see both the store locations here. Total plant level I have 100 pieces. In supplying store I have 80 pieces. In receiving store I have 20 pieces is there. So this is about a one step process here. Okay. Now what is the one step here? Immediately stock will be decreased and maybe the receiving store after some time it is going to receive here. So these are two disadvantages. In receiving store people sometimes they will confuse because in system it is showing stock, but physically stock is not available. This is the first disadvantage. And the second disadvantage in the one step process. Okay, so if any transit loss, sometimes if any transit loss, so we cannot able to calculate because automatically stock is updating, right? So to overcome this, generally in real time, if both the stores are very near, then we'll go with one step process. Okay, as per the client acceptance. So otherwise, we need to go for the two-step process. Now let us run the two-step process here. So what is the two-step process here? The two-step process means the supplying store people will make one entry, and at the same time receiving people also will make other entry. Now in MB1B, I will show you, right? So once again, I will show one step process in MIGO. Okay, in MIGO, I will show you one step process. The same transition code. Okay, now I will go to again in instead of MB1B, I will show you in MIGO here. Okay, so how it will be one step process here. Again, we'll perform one more time one step process in MIGO. Okay, if you are doing the stock transfers, so here there is no stock transfer here. Actually, the SAP should give the stock transfer slash transfer posting, but they have not maintained the description. So you need to select transfer posting. Means this transfer posting means you can perform both the activities, stock transfer and transfer posting, as without any other. So you need to select other. Okay, so first of all, you need to enter the material here. So what is the material here? From which plant here? So from which plant here? So 1000 plant. From which store location here? Supplying store you need to enter here. So same plant here. Destination is also same plant. And which store location you are receiving? You are issuing this. You are issuing. So this you are issuing to the receiving store. Okay, the same plant from here to the receiving store here. So but same plant here. Okay, how much stock here? So as of 80 pieces is there in supplying store. So again 5 pieces I am moving here. In transfer posting you need to enter like this. And materials automatically stock is updated. Quantity 5 pieces you are moving. In where tab you need to carefully. In where tab you need to enter. In where tab. So what is the movement type you need to enter? 311 movement type you need to enter. 311 movement type. So in where tab you make sure. So it should be supplying store here. Okay, which store is supplying you need to enter that. Okay. So now enter all the details. Now click on check. So here, sorry. So in our system, okay, some issue is there. Okay, so this app lock issue is there. Now we are not able to perform in MIGO. So because of that issue, no problem. You observed in MB1B. So I'm showing you MIGO also. It is same like the our supplying store and issuing store we need to enter. Okay. Now let us run the two-step process here. So what is the two-step process here? In two-step process, how it is going to update here? Go to two-step process. In two-step process, okay. So here this two movement types here. 313 movement type will be done by the supplying store people, and 315 315 will be done by the receiving store here. So 313 will be done by the supplying store. So they will issue this material, and meanwhile stock will be in transit, and whenever the receiving store people is received, they will enter with the 315 movement type here. But these two prerequisites will be common here. So already we maintain the two prerequisites, so we no need to worry here. So already we maintain the prerequisites. So again we need to the same material. So we have what is the stock position? 80 pieces in the supplying store and 20 pieces in the receiving store. So straight away we will run the process, two-step process here. Okay. Now go to MB1B. In MB1B transaction code. Okay. So now this time what is the movement type I need to enter? 313. So now we are performing two-step process. Okay. The supplying store people will make a 313 movement type, and which store we are issuing? Supplying store is 001. Immediately system will ask the receiving store here. So enter the receiving store and enter the material. So what is the material here? So I need to enter this material. So how much quantity if I want to move? So I want to move more 10 pieces here. Okay. Now it will become 70, and okay. Now you click on save. So now first you go and check the stock value. So previously stock is at a time it is decreased, at a time it is increased here. Now this time the stock will be decreased here. Now 80 pieces will become 70, and stock will be remains 20 pieces only, because we are performing two-step process, right? If you refresh here, the stock will be decreased out of 80, 70 pieces, but still the 20 pieces only here, because we are performing two-step process here. So where exactly this 10 pieces? You can observe in the click on this store location. If you go to detail display, these 10 pieces are in the transfer location here. So these 10 pieces are arriving to receiving store here. You can observe the transfer location, these 10 pieces. So which is a transit stock here. So whenever the receiving people is received, again they need to make another entry. So what is that entry here? So with 315, the receiving people, whenever they received, so with 315 moment type, they need to receive here these 10 pieces here. So whenever they received, so to overcome this, okay, so you need to go to here, where you need to go in MB1B. Go to MB1B. In MB1B transaction code, so 315, which stores people will perform this 315? Here you should be very careful. So 315 will be performed by the receiving store, not supplying store, because they received. So the receiving store people, so enter the plant, and you need to enter the receiving store. Now immediately system will ask you which material you received. So how much quantity you received? Okay, total 10 pieces you received here. Example here. Okay, so there is no transit loss. If you click on save, immediately stock is updated in the receiving store. Now automatically, so here 30 pieces, the 20 pieces become 30 pieces here. So means they received 10 pieces here. So total number of pieces 30 here. Now if you go to detail display, previously it is showing 10 pieces, right? Now this time it will not show any transfer location here. If you go to transfer location, stock will be 0 here, because there is no transit stock, right? So this is what you need to observe, the stock transfers between one step and two-step process. So within the plant here. So within the plant here. So already initially what we discussed. So what is the basic definition of the stock transfers? The basic definition of the stock transfer means physically the material is moving from one store location to another store location within the plant, or plant to plant is called as the stock transfers. So we observed within the plant, from one store location to another store location we observed. Now I'll show you in the same way. Okay, assume that I have another plant is there here. Okay, so I have 1100 plant is also there. So I have 1100 plant. In 1100 plant, now this time I will show you if the material is moving between, so another plant here. Okay, so what is the plant here? The plant is a 1100 plant here. In 1100 plant also I have one store location here. Example, 001 store location is also there here. And now 001 store location will become as a receiving store here. Now this time the material is moving from this 001 store location to this store location, or this store location to this store location. As of now, 70 pieces in this stores and 30 pieces in this store, and First of all, in 1100 plant, I have another store location. Now, previously, the metal is moving within the same plant from one store location to another store location. Now, this time, the metal is moving between one plant to another plant. However, the metal is moving one store to another store. But this time, these two stores are belongs to the different plants here. Previously, same plant. Now, this time, different plants. When you are moving the material from one plant to another plant, also, we have two processes there here: one-step process and two-step process. So, basic definition is common. So, one-step process means whenever issuing from this store from this plant, immediately stock is updated in this plant in this store location. So that process will be same here. Okay, the movement types is going to change here. Now first we'll see plant to plant one step process here. Plant to plant one step process. So what is a one step process for plant to plant? And when you are moving the material from one plant to another plant with one step process, only the supplying plant and supplying store people will use this 301 movement type. Immediately stock is updated in the receiving plant and receiving store location. Okay, so same, already I maintain the prerequisites. Again, I don't want to maintain any prerequisites because already the prerequisites has been maintained. Now let us observe in one step process. So now first of all, before that, I need to check the prerequisites. So what is the prerequisite here? The material, okay, I have sufficient stock in the supplying store. Okay, but the material should be extended both the plants in the both the stores here. So I need to extend the same material to other plant and the store location. Otherwise, you are not able to perform, right? So I must extend this material to other plant and other store location. So let me copy this material. Now, first of all, to fulfill this prerequisites here, so you go to extend. So how to extend this material? Go to MM01 transition code. In MM01 transition code, enter the material code. Okay, now, sorry. Okay, now go to arg levels. So in 1100 plant, we need to extend this material. In 1100 plant, 001 store location, I need to extend this material. So you know how to extend the material. So only basic data will be common. So purchasing and as well as plant data storage one, accounting one view if you want to maintain. So on other plants you need to maintain the different price or same price. So this is the way you need to extend. You can in MARC table you can check the how the material got extended to other plant and store location, right? So the first prerequisite is completed here. So we completed the first prerequisite here. Okay. So material got extended from this plant to the store location to this plant, this store location, but stock is also available. Okay, second prerequisite is also eventually this stock is also available in supplying store. How much stock is there? I mean 001 store location. If you go to the stock overview, so in the 001 store location is supplying example. So I have 70 pieces here. In receiving store, I mean sorry, in other stores I have 30 pieces here. So other plant, 11 plant, I will issue some stock here. So if I want to issue plant to others, the plant here, now go to MB1B. The transaction code will be same MB1B or MAGO. Go to MB1B. Now this time, what is the movement type you need to use? 301 movement type you need to use 301. Okay, and from 301 which store here? 001 store location. I have 70 pieces here. Okay, so from 70 pieces I will issue some stock here. Okay, now if you click on continue, so now immediately system will ask which plant and which store location. So enter the 1100 plant and what is the store location here? 001 store location. So which material? So enter the material and enter the stock here. So how much here? Let me not copy it properly. So how much quantity? So out of 70 pieces, you are issuing 10 pieces. Then it will become only 60 pieces here. 301 movement type. It is one step process, right? Now if you go and observe the stock value, if you refresh here, the stock will be decreased here. Okay, so out of 70, it will become 60 here. Now if you go to 1100 plant, in 1100 plant, you can observe. You go to 1100 plant, in 1100 plant, you can observe only 1100 001 store location. You have only 10 pieces is there here. So total at in 11 plant only 10 pieces there. If I want to see at a time for both the plants here, okay, both the plants at a time, you can just you remove, and if you execute here, so completely in two plants, so this is complete level. So in 1000 plant I have two store locations. In one store location I have 60, another store location 30. In 1100 plant 10 pieces here. So I issued one step process. Now the same way I will perform two-step process here. Okay. So what is the two-step process? Okay, two-step process means the supplying people, supplying plant and supplying store people will make one entry, and whenever the receiving plant, receiving store people, whenever they received, so they need to make other entry. For two-step process, so we need to enter two movement types here. Okay. For two-step process, so we need to enter two movement types. That is the 303 as well as the 305, two movement types here, 303 and 305, two movement types. So 303 movement type will be performed by the supplying store people, and whenever the receiving people is received, they need to enter 305 movement type here. Okay. Now go to, so the stock is decreased here, and meanwhile stock will be in transfer location. So whenever the receiving store people is received, again they will make other entry here. Okay. Now go to, now as of now this is my stock position, 60 pieces in 001, 30 pieces in 0002, 11 plants, 10 pieces here. Now go to MB1B, and what is the movement type here? 303. Who will perform this 303? Supplying plant, supplying store, and immediately system will ask receiving plant, receiving store, 11 and 001. So how much material? Again I am issuing more 10 pieces here. Okay. Then this 60 will become 50 pieces here. Okay. If you click on save, so now if you go and see the stock overview, the stock overview, this 60 pieces will become 50 here. If you refresh here, so now more 10 pieces here, 50 pieces, but stock is not received to the receiving plant and receiving store location. Where exactly the stock? Just you go to the plant, and if you go to detail display, you can observe the stock will be in the transit here. Okay, the stock will be in transit here. So 10 pieces at plant level here. So whenever the receiving people is received, receiving plant, receiving store people will receive, it will become 20. So what is the movement type they need to enter? They need to enter 305. So who will perform this 305? Receiving plant people here, 1100 plant and 001 store location. Enter. So enter the material and enter the 10 pieces here. Enter and save here. When you do this here, okay, now if you go and see the stock value, so automatically stock will become 20 pieces here. Okay, refresh, the stock will be 20 pieces here. This is my stock position here. This is about complete stock transfers. So what is the stock transfers? A physical movement of the material from one store location to another store location. Okay, so within the plant or plant to plant. So we have different movement types we observed: 311, 313, 315, and 301, 303. 6 movement types we observed just to practice. So tomorrow we'll discuss with another person, but it's most important for stock transport orders, the inventory transactions here. And regularly in real time, the material is going to move from one store location to another store location, one step and two step process. So always you need to focus on these movement types and what is happening. So with this video, it will help to you. Okay. So tomorrow we'll meet with other new process like transfer postings. Okay, Naresh, Mayur, Nagendra, Harshini.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for joining this session. Tomorrow we'll meet here. Bye.